Beyond the Gates spoilers tease that Bill and Dani's recent closeness will change everything. Bill Harper awoke that morning with a heaviness in his chest, not solely from the lingering side effects of sedation, but from an even heavier burden of regret and longing. The sterile scent of antiseptic and the steady beep of the heart monitor greeted him before memory fully crystallized. He remembered the whirlwind that had been his recent life, the end of a marriage, the scandalous affair, and the hastily arranged wedding to Hayley, a union more of convenience and public spectacle than of true love. Yet here he was now, lying vulnerable in the hospital's semi-private room, the specter of mortality sharpening every emotion. Across the narrow space, Dani Mercer entered with soft, deliberate steps. Her familiar presence had become a constant despite the fractured history between them. She carried a folded newspaper and a small bouquet of daisies, Bill's favorite, wrapped in pale blue ribbon. She paused at the foot of his bed, observing him with equal measures of care and restraint. Though the hospital staff know her only as a concerned friend, their private understanding ran far deeper. Dani moved to the bedside chair and unfolded the newspaper, smoothing its creases. She offered the flowers with a shy, rueful smile. "Thought these might brighten the room," she said quietly. Bill accepted them with a nod, inhaling their delicate fragrance, memories flooding him of simpler times, lazy Sunday mornings in his garden, Dani's laughter echoing as she chased butterflies among the blooms. "How are you feeling?" Dani asked, eyes flicking to the four-line before returning to Bill's face. "Tired," he admitted, throat dry. He reached for the glass of water on the bedside table. "What day is it?" "Thursday," she replied. "The doctor was by earlier, says your vitals are stable. If you stick to the regimen, you'll be discharged soon." Bill set the glass down and leaned back, gazing at Dani. Their divorce had been messy, fueled by his betrayal with Hayley and Dani's righteous indignation. But in this clinical setting, such past wounds seemed distant, almost absurd. Here, human vulnerability eclipsed petty jealousies. Dani's expression softened as she watched him struggle to find comfort in the hospital bed. "You know," she began, "you don't have to do this alone." He looked at her, surprised. "I thought I had moved on." "You moved on with Hayley," she replied, voice gentle but firm. "But this," she gestured to the room, "this is different. You need someone who truly understands you, Bill." "I never stopped caring." He closed his eyes, the weight of her words settling over him. Their history was a tapestry of shared dreams and bitter arguments, triumphs and tragedies. They had built a life together, only for his affair to unravel it all. Now, in the face of his frailty, Dani's constancy felt like both a balm and a reminder of everything he had lost. When the door opened, a nurse stepped in to check his chart. Dani slid into the corner, giving them privacy. Afterwards, she offered to sneak him a tuna sandwich from the cafeteria, knowing how little the hospital meals agreed with him. Bill accepted with gratitude, and as Dani left, he realized how natural it felt to depend on her again. By afternoon, Hayley arrived in a flurry of designer scarves and perfume. Her entrance transformed the subdued hospital atmosphere into something more theatrical. She approached the bed with forced cheer, planting a quick kiss on Bill's forehead before thrusting a bouquet of exotic lilies into his arms. "Get well soon, honey," she cooed, too bright, too rehearsed. Dani lingered by the door, arms folded, watching the interaction with guarded eyes. Bill offered Hayley a reassuring smile. "Thanks, Hayley. I appreciate it." Hayley's gaze flicked to Dani. "I didn't know you were here, Dani." "I came when I heard," Dani replied evenly. "He's my ex-husband, after all." A flicker of annoyance passed over Hayley's features. "Well, I'll let you two catch up." She swept out, heels clicking. After the door closed, Dani exhaled sharply. "She's been coming by every afternoon," she said. "I thought it best we coordinate visits." Bill nodded. "She's worried." Dani's jaw clenched. "Jealous, you mean?" He paused, thinking, maybe both. They fell into an uneasy silence, sharing the small absurdities of hospital life, the inefficiency of the call button, the incessant chirp of new admissions, the way the fluorescent lights pressed on one's nerves. Dani teased him gently, and he found himself laughing, the sound foreign yet comforting. As dusk approached, the nurse returned to dress a minor wound. Bill winced, and Dani instinctively reached out to steady his arm. Her touch sent a warmth through him that no medication could replicate. He turned to her, voice soft, "Thank you for being here." Her eyes met his, and in that moment, the ghosts of their past seemed to recede. "Always," she whispered. The next day, Bill's doctor arrived for rounds and outlined a plan: physical therapy, dietary adjustments, and regular check-ins. Dani listened attentively, taking notes, asking questions that revealed her deep understanding of his needs. Bill watched with awe. How many times had she been his rock, his fiercest advocate? And how quickly had he forgotten in the zeal of his new marriage? Later, Dani pushed him in a wheelchair down the hospital's central corridor for a brief walk. He groaned at the stiffness in his legs, but she encouraged him with gentle words. At the therapy room, he attempted several exercises standing, taking tentative steps, regaining strength. Dani stood by, offering water and cheering his successes. A small crowd of curious onlookers gathered, impressed by his determination. Hayley, who had been visiting at another room, arrived just as Bill completed the final set, clapping enthusiastically. Bill felt a surge of pride, not for the applause, but for the fleeting sensation that he and Dani worked seamlessly together, a partnership renewed under the harsh lights of recovery. After therapy, they returned to his room. Hayley lingered for a moment, but left quickly, citing an urgent engagement. As the door shut, Dani exhaled. "She's trying to keep you all to herself." Bill followed her gaze. "I can't blame her," he said, but his voice betrayed doubt. Dani shook her head. "She doesn't know you the way I do. She can't understand what you need." That night, as Tommy the night nurse dimmed the hallway lights, Dani stayed late, reading to Bill from a novel they'd once loved. The words wove around them like a spell, and sleep claimed him in her presence. When he woke, it was to find Dani asleep in the chair, the book fallen in her lap. The tenderness of that image, her hair splayed like a halo, her breathing steady, etched itself onto his heart. By the weekend, Bill was discharged and returned to his home, a place echoing with memories of better days. Dani helped him up the front steps and inside, carrying groceries and medical supplies. The moment the door closed, they looked at each other, silent acknowledgement in their eyes. They were crossing a line neither intended to approach again. In the days that followed, they fell into a routine. Dani returned each morning to administer medication, check his vitals, and share breakfast. Bill, grateful and yet painfully aware of his vulnerability, leaned on her in ways he hadn't imagined possible. Their conversations wandered through happy recollections of their past marriage, the early days of excitement, the shared dreams of traveling, the comfort of Sunday mornings curled up with coffee. They spoke of Laura, his late sister whose death had drawn them together in grief, and whose absence had shaped their lives. Yet between these moments of nostalgia, the ghost of Hayley's presence lingered. She called frequently, insisting on hosting him for dinners she prepared herself. Bill attended out of a sense of obligation, but each visit felt strained. Hayley's smiles were brittle, her laughter forced. She watched him and Dani with thinly veiled frustration, masking insecurity with orchestrated cheer. One evening, as Dani prepared a simple salad in Bill's kitchen, Hayley arrived unannounced. The tension snapped instantly. Hayley's gaze darted between Bill's bedraggled sweater and Dani's presence at the counter. "I thought you'd be here," she said to Bill. "I made your favorite stew." Bill looked from Hayley to Dani, conflict roiling in his chest. "I invited Dani for dinner," he confessed. Hayley's lips tightened. "You didn't tell me." Dani turned, calm but firm. Bill needed someone who knows how to care for him. "I'm just helping." Hayley's eyes narrowed. "Helping," she repeated. "Or interfering?" Bill stepped between them. "Hayley, please." But Hayley ignored him, moving toward Dani. In a sudden, impulsive gesture, she swiped the bowl from Dani's hands, sending lettuce and tomatoes scattering across the floor. Bill's heart pounded. This confrontation felt both juvenile and dangerously unhinged. Dani stood stoic, bending to pick up the debris. She murmured an apology to Bill, but her eyes flashed at Hayley. "You're not welcome here," she said quietly. Hayley's cheeks flamed. "I'm his wife." Bill took a step back. The word echoed hollowly in his mind. Wife. He felt trapped between the woman he married and the woman who truly knew him. And within that moment, the first tendrils of realization curled through his heart. His feelings for Dani were alive, urgent, and impossible to ignore. In the hush that followed, Bill gently placed a hand on Hayley's arm. "I think you should go," he said. Hayley recoiled as though struck. She stared at him, disbelief etched into her features. "You can't be serious." He met her gaze steadily. "I am." As Hayley fled into the night, her heels clicking down the porch steps, Bill turned to Dani. She stood in the soft glow of the chandelier, eyes weary but resolute. He reached for her hand, and she didn't pull away. In that simple touch, they both understood that the path forward would be fraught, but also that they could face it together wherever it led. And so, as the dawn broke over Bill's home, its golden rays illuminating the shared resolve in their eyes, their journey into uncharted territory truly began. The dawn light slanted through the curtains, casting pale stripes across the hardwood floor as Bill and Dani sat together at the breakfast table. The quiet was comfortable now, a far cry from the tension of the night before, when Hayley's fury had erupted like a sudden storm. Neither spoke of what had transpired. Words felt inadequate. Instead, Bill poured coffee into their mugs while Dani arranged fresh fruit on a plate, her hands steady, her gaze thoughtful. He watched her, memorizing the graceful angle of her wrist, the soft curve of her shoulder beneath the pale blouse she wore. The memory of her resilience, how she'd stood her ground in the kitchen, refusing to be intimidated, warmed him more than any coffee ever could. He reached across the table, brushing his thumb against her knuckles. "Thank you," he said simply. Dani offered a small smile, one of many they'd exchanged recently, laden with unspoken understanding. "For what?" "For being you." He hesitated, swallowing. "And for standing by me even when it was the hardest thing you've ever done." She met his gaze steadily. "I wouldn't change a thing." They ate in companionable silence, the only sounds the soft clink of cutlery and the hum of the refrigerator. Afterwards, Bill fetched the medical files Dani had insisted he review, lab results trending positive, the physical therapist's notes indicating steady progress, dietary guidelines. It was the first time in weeks that he felt back in control of his own life. Later that morning, as Dani helped him with light exercises in the living room, their closeness felt natural, inevitable. When he stumbled on a step, she steadied him with a firm hand at the small of his back, their bodies pressed together. He inhaled her familiar scent, lavender, and something uniquely hersened for a moment, his breath caught. "Easy," she murmured. Bill leaned into her support, heart hammering. The barrier between them had eroded so completely that he almost forgot they weren't married. The lines between friendship, partnership, and something deeper blurred until all that remained was a profound connection neither could or wanted to deny. Over the next days, they settled into a routine that wove care and intimacy in equal measure. In the morning, Dani would brew him tea and read aloud from old journals he'd kept during their marriage, entries about dreams, hopes, tiny triumphs. In the afternoon, she accompanied him on slow strolls through the neighborhood, steadying him when his legs tired, sharing quiet laughter over birds bobbing on the fence. In the evenings, They sat on the porch swing, hands entwined, watching the sunset paint the sky in watercolor hues. Hayley, meanwhile, grew increasingly distant. Her phone calls became terse, her visits perfunctory. Once, she arrived in a flurry of designer scarves and demands, insisting on arranging a celebratory lunch for Bill's recovery milestone. Dani had gently escorted her to the door, explaining that Bill needed rest. Hayley's glare lingered on Dani as she left, a silent promise of retaliation burning behind her eyes. That promise crystallized the evening Bill folded Hayley's laundry, an old habit he'd resurrected to show goodwill, only to find a threatening note tucked into one of Hayley's blouses. "Stay away from what you lost, or you'll lose everything." Bill's heart lurched as he showed the note to Dani. She read it, lips thinning. "She's scared," she said quietly. "She feels like she's losing you. But she threatened me." Bill frowned. "This isn't a game." Dani touched his arm. "I'll talk to her." True to her word, Dani reached out, calling Hayley under the pretense of peace. She invited her to meet at a neutral cafe, hoping to de-escalate the mounting conflict. Bill discouraged the idea. He knew Dani was treading into dangerous territory, but she insisted. She couldn't allow Hayley's fear to turn into violence. At the cafe, sunlight streamed through tall windows as Hayley slid into the seat opposite Dani. Her dark hair was pulled back, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. She studied Dani warily. "I'm not here to fight," Dani began, voice calm. "I just want you to understand that Bill is recovering, and he needs peace." Hayley's jaw clenched. "You want me to step aside," she said flatly. "I want us all to find a way forward without fear." Dani's tone was gentle yet firm. "You married him because you loved him. That doesn't have to change because we're in each other's lives." Hayley's lip quivered. "I thought I could handle this. But every time I see you two together, I feel like I never meant anything." Dani leaned forward. "You mattered. You still do. But his past with me, we can't erase it. You have to decide if you can accept that." Silence stretched, broken only by the soft rattle of plates in the cafe. Finally, Hayley's shoulders slumped. "I can't," she whispered. "I'm falling apart." Dani's expression softened. "Then maybe this marriage isn't what you both need." Hayley's eyes filled. She stood abruptly. "Fine, if that's what he wants." She tossed her scarf onto the table and fled, leaving Dani alone with the echo of her tears. When Dani returned home, Bill was waiting anxiously. She found him on the porch, gripping his phone. Hayley had cahiers an ultimatum, delivered in trembling tones. "If you file for divorce, I will make sure you regret ever choosing her over me." Bill's face was pale, anger flickered in his eyes. Dani stepped beside him, sliding her hand into his. "You have to do what's right for you." He turned to her, voice fierce. "She threatened you." Dani shook her head. "She threatened both of us. But I'm safe with you." In that moment, Bill felt clarity rush through him like liquid light. The fear, the guilt, they dissolved, leaving only the truth of what his heart had known all along. He reached for the desk drawer where his attorney's card lay, picked up the phone and began to dial. The next morning, Bill served Hayley with divorce papers. Her response was immediate and vehement. She accused him of betrayal, demanded half his assets, threatened to expose every secret she knew. But Bill was resolute. His heart no longer wavered. Meanwhile, his bond with Dani deepened, grounded in mutual trust and a shared history that neither scandal nor time could sever. They spent long evenings planning their future, a modest wedding in the summer garden where they'd first fallen in love, whispered vows beneath an arch of jasmine. They talked of starting a foundation in Laura's memory to help families torn apart by tragedy, an endeavor that melded their passions and honored the sister whose loss had shaped their lives. Yet, even as their hopes grew, so did the undercurrent of danger. One afternoon, as Dani walked to the mailbox, she found a single white rose pinned to her coatno note, no signature. She held it up, fingers trembling. "He's warning us," she said when Bill joined her, breathless. Bill took the rose, studying its bloom. "I know," he said, placing it reverently on the porch railing. "But nothing he does will drive us apart again." That evening, they hosted a small gathering in the backyard, a celebration of Bill's regained strength of new beginnings. Dani wore a soft blue dress, Bill, a crisp shirt. Friends mingled under string lights, laughter rippling through the humid air. At one point, Bill lifted Dani into his arms, spinning her gently as music drifted from the speakers. Their kiss was tender, a vow renewed in public view. Across the yard, Hayley watched from the shadows, face obscured by gloom. She slipped away before the party's end, her silhouette swallowed by the night. In the weeks that followed, the divorce finalized. Hayley's attempts at revenge leaking scandalous rumors, threatening lawsuits crumbled against the weight of Bill and Dani's integrity and the unwavering support of their community. Love, history, and truth proved stronger than fear. At last, on a warm July afternoon, Bill and Dani stood beneath a wooden arbor entwined with jasmine and ivy. Family and friends formed a circle around them. Bill's voice shook with emotion as he spoke his vows, promises of honesty, loyalty, and a love that had endured betrayal and healing. Dani's tears glistened as she pledged to stand by him, as friend, partner, wife. As they exchanged rings, simple bands of silver, they sealed their new beginning. Beyond the past's shadows, they stepped forward together, hands clasped, hearts interwoven. And though the path ahead would no doubt hold challenges, echoes of old pain, the occasional tremor of fear, they knew that their bond, reforged in adversity, would guide them through any storm.